Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2536. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. I'm founder Mark Green, and I've handed the keys to this car over to Ginger Baker Rust, who's a lifelong enthusiast. Ginger's here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, and buckle up and get ready for a fun ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today, we are in the town of Temecula, California, with my partner in crime, who is becoming a very popular figure in motorsports by the name of Nitro Allie. Hello, Nitro. Welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to stomp that loud pedal?
I'm ready to take this direct drive nitro-powered interview straight to the top end.
All right, let's go. Nitro, please share something about yourself that most people may not know.
What a lot of people don't know about me is that for an automotive enthusiast, I have never actually owned a hot rod or a classic car or even a race car. And that's something I'm actually almost embarrassed by because with everything I do, people assume that I've experienced one or the other. But that's life. I spent a lot of time and money raising my family and building a solid career. And I think people can relate to that. But it didn't stop me from loving, appreciating, admiring, and definitely learning about cars and enjoying the racing scene.
Oh, that's awesome. You're more a part of the racing scene than you give yourself credit for. So let's take a moment now to tell our listeners a little bit more about you. Nitro Allie, also known as Allie D, is a motorsports enthusiast who started in the world of drag racing and enjoys sharing her love of car culture with those who have never been exposed to it. She shares her story and enthusiasm with others and hopes that they too will fall in love with our world of car culture. Like myself, Nitro wants to keep racing alive and thriving. Racing is life. When Nitro is not at the track or recording her inspirational interviews, she is a public servant in the law enforcement community who classifies herself as a last responder, also known as a death investigator and a county deputy. So let's take a ride down the strip with Nitro Allie. Nitro, let's go a little deeper in the corner and share with us more about your journey in the motorsports world. How did you get started?
I got started, actually as a child, I was introduced to it by my father. I remember sitting on his lap watching the drag racing. My father used to race go-karts. He, really built that love and passion for me and just that enthusiasm. And again, I was an only daughter with two brothers, so I was surrounded by it. And it was just something I always loved. And it's something that I shared with my father. Even though I wasn't directly involved, I never raced. I was around it. And I loved it. And that's something my father really facilitated for me.
That's awesome. When did you decide to pursue your path as Nitro Allie? How did all that get started?
Gosh, that was kind of funny because it just evolved. I'd been going to the races for a while and someone put me on a dare saying, oh, you're not going to wear a sparkly outfit like some of those backup girls, like, oh, challenge accepted. And it just took off. It was a Veterans Day weekend and I was wearing Miss Red, White, and Blue sparkles and all of that. And people loved it. I'd been with the Coletta team for a little bit. They've kind of adopted me, which is kind of funny. And I've learned an incredible amount from them. So I was just getting more notoriety being with them and people asking questions. I go, well, I think it's time I changed my Facebook name. And I really struggled with it. I really did. But I finally just go, you know what? I'm going to do it. And Nitro Allie was born.
So did Nitro Allie start because did you say you were a backup girl for Coletta?
No, I wasn't a backup girl, but they wanted me to, some friends were teasing me, oh, you should dress like one.
Oh, I gotcha.
So I have never actually backed up a car. I've had several people offer, hey, will you do it? But scheduling just hasn't worked out. And I am terrified in some of those heels that I'm going to face plant in front of everybody. So I don't know if it's something that I will actually ever do.
I can see you'd be great at it. You'd absolutely be great at it and be a total icon beyond what you're already being.
Oh, no, I mean, I love wearing them, but I got to hand it to all those ladies out there that do it. They're running and they're keeping everything in line. And I just don't think I could do it. And I'll leave it to the pros at that.
Yeah, here we are in a car show talking about heels. All right, let's talk a little bit further about inspiration. Throughout your life, I know that there are people who are great inspirations. Would you share with us a key mentor who helped you to be successful And who's been the most influential person in your life?
Gosh, my father, I keep going back to my dad, and I think a lot of young ladies or little girls or however you want to say it, have always been inspired by their dad. He's always been the one to really push me and support me. And when I've failed, it's okay. Just, you know what, if you're not failing, you're not learning, and just keep trying. As I kind of evolved into the Nitro Allie character and started with my doing interviews and podcasts and whatnot, I was really nervous about it. And a friend of mine, his nickname is Toad. He's very well known in the music industry, and he has his own called Toad's Country. And I reached out to him for advice, and I go, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't have a degree in broadcasting, journalism, none of this stuff. And he goes, you know what? Just have a conversation with people and record it. That's all you're doing. And just talk to them like we're talking now. And so I got to hand it him too, where when I'm not feeling confident in myself, I reach out to him, and he just kind of really helps me out and gives me sound words of advice.
I have to check that out. Nitro, we're going to get under the hood with a little bit of a challenge here. Please share with us a difficult challenge, failure, obstacle that you faced, whether in your personal life or business, and tell us how you overcame that situation. What did you learn?
I think it is more dealing with the Nitro Alley.
It's quite different being Nitro Allie versus Deputy
Right.
Allison.
Yeah, okay, with the Nitro Alley concept, I think I was more my own worst enemy with it. Can I do it? Am I going to expose myself to social media critics? But at the end of the day, it comes down to really self-reflection, and do I value this person, their opinion? Is this criticism, is it coming from a place of love? It's taking that valued constructive criticism from people that I respect and their advice, just the advice of the peers that are smarter, more experienced, and implementing that into my own growth. So really how I've overcome just that psychological warfare that we play on ourselves, we all do it, is to surround myself with people that are better than me so that I will become better. So overcoming those mind games that we all do when we're trying our best and we're really putting ourselves out there. So now I have the mindset that I'm just going to do this, and here I am.
Again, I know you, and my oldest son's a deputy sheriff. And the fact that you are by day or your day job is basically a coroner, and you're a deputy, you're a coroner, you're a death investigator. Then that takes such precise way of thinking and the way of looking at things and in details, and so much confidence in what you do into going into different situations, And so hearing you, talk about the fact that it's difficult for you to grasp the Nitro Allie character, that it made you so nervous. It's such a totally different opposite ends of the spectrum of character, but just the absolute confidence that you have to do your day job. I'm surprised. Actually, I'm not surprised, but I can understand, the nervousness. But do you think that Nitro Allie was born a little bit out of wanting to be able to explore such a bigger character than what you have to do for your day job?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll touch a little bit. Like you said, I'm a deputy coroner for my county. I classify myself as a last responder because, again, the first responders were there, before myself. And basically, I'm a death detective. So I do homicides, I do suicides, traffic accidents, child deaths, fire deaths, skeletal remains. Essentially everything that you see on TV is what I do for a living, and it's not very glamorous. It's not clean. We don't have things figured out in an hour like they do on TV. And then you have Nitro Allie, who, she loves pretty things and, sparkle and bling and the car culture. And a lot of people are surprised because they're polar opposites. They really are. But I tell people she is actually my healthy coping mechanism, and an outlet away from the horror and tragedy that I deal with on a daily basis. So with my job as a deputy coroner, you're a medical legal death investigator. So certain things are finite, when it comes to the law. But I still have to be an investigator, and I'm not necessarily in the public eye. unless the media is on scene on certain things, but I do not engage with them. I just do my job and do the best that I can for the community that I serve. But then you get Nitro Allie, and she does the interviews online, and when stuff's online, you get all these keyboard warriors that, oh, you're wrong on this, or you're wrong on that, or they want to pick you apart. But then you get some wonderful, wonderful people that just really appreciate what you do. I do enjoy it because I get to talk to different drivers, track operators, other enthusiasts, just to really share the love that I have. And what I like to do is give them that opportunity. It's more than just what they've accomplished on the track. You can Google that stuff all day long, but who are these people? Who are they at home? The mom, the dad, some of the things that you just don't read about in some of the standard automotive outlets. So again, it's very different, but I feel comfortable talking with people. It's just being out there and exposing yourself to criticism is always, we never want to hear that we're doing something wrong or someone doesn't like us, but I got pretty thick skin. So.
And you're right. I mean, when I finally was convinced that, to take on Cars Yeah, to take on this show, I was like you. I mean, I was really, really nervous, and I still get really nervous and, scared that I'm going to screw up, or, scared that I'm not going to be able to carry on the legacy that, Mark Green set. Maybe people aren't going to like the people I'm having on the shows, but then when it came really down to it, it's about the people. It's about the people that are in this industry. It's about the car culture. It's about the racing scene. And it, just like you said, it's the stories behind the story, right? That most people don't get to experience. And that was what really drew me, as well to do this. And also, I think also for me, an outlet, in some ways, versus my day life, my day job. So I can totally relate to what you're saying. And most people that aren't in the racing scene or car culture don't understand the community, the family, that once you're ingrained in it, it's part of your identity. It's part of who you are. It's part of something so deep within that it's hard to explain to people that just aren't around or aren't interested in it.
You're absolutely right. And that's one thing that I've been really trying to promote is bring a friend. Mm-hmm. If you go all the time, bring a friend, show them what racing is, because it's more than just, cars going around a track, down a track, whatever racing you're into. It's that sense of community. It's that common bond, and you fall in love with it. And should you decide to move forward and actually participate in whatever style of racing that interests you, there's a warmth there. And I've seen it. I've experienced it in my own life. My kids, I used to race junior dragsters. And I know that's not the big cars, but it's still the same thing with that sense of family and community. If a part is broken or you're missing a tool, your neighbor, they're going to help you. We even saw it, I think it was this past year, where Ron Capps helped J.R. Todd.
Yeah.
They're competing against each other. Yeah. There's a significant amount of money on the line, and it didn't matter.
Right.
That's his brother at the end of the day. And I'm going to help. And it's a beautiful, the racing family, the racing community is really something special. And I would love just to bring more and more people into it. So I always tell people, go support your local racetrack, and whatever, racing you're into, bring a friend. Let's grow motorsports. Let's support the tracks so they aren't shutting down, because unfortunately in California, we've experienced that a lot lately with track closures.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to keep, like you said, let's keep racing alive wherever you're at. Buy that hot dog, buy that beer, whatever it is, support it, bring your friends and family into it, grow the racing family, and you'll be surprised just the joy that you will get from being a part of something.
Absolutely. And I think it even goes beyond just the racing family. I mean, the car culture as a whole, car collect and vintage racers and the Concours and, all of those things that if people don't understand or haven't experienced, you need to just go once. And it's not even just, like you said, it's not even just about the cars or the racing or anything like that. It's about the people. And I think part of it is there's this nostalgia that generations, younger than us haven't really got to experience like we did in that type of community. For me, anytime I take a young person or a person that's never been, my big thing for them is to introduce them to the nostalgia, introduce them to the community, introduce them to the culture. And because it's still part of like what it was when people really helped each other. And, and it still is that way. It's just, unfortunately, the media doesn't share any of that anymore. it's the escape, it's the experience, it's the joy, it's a peace. It's just this whole place that you can escape from.
Absolutely, absolutely. And and you're right. The younger generation now, they really didn't have the opportunity to experience it. I'm grateful that I did. I'm 49 years old, and I know most people don't put that out there, but my father again grew up in the 50s into the 60s where cars, that was it. They're street racing, which of course we don't agree with, but it was that whole thing. So I was brought up with that whole culture and appreciation for what cars are or were. And now kids are in their phone, they're playing the video games. Well, get out and actually experience it.
Right.
And that's what I love. I've personally seen a shift where instead of more the classic cars, which really are the foundation of what we have, things have shifted a little bit more into, we'll just call it the street outlaw,
The
the
Fast and
outlaw type.
Furious generations. Yeah.
So I think, and it just my opinion, and some people may disagree, is well, maybe that's something we need to focus on with bringing the younger generation into motorsports. They are, starting to do this where it is at the track, not on the streets. I'm absolutely 100% opposed to that. I don't condone it in any fashion, especially because I've seen the repercussions of that. But still, bringing that type of series, you can do where this no prep world and get the kids involved. Put the phone down, actually get out there. And those drivers, they are so open to sharing, how they started. They might have had a little clunker and that they turned into one heck of a nice ride, and they kind of worked their way up, and they will invite you into the pits. They will talk to you. So it's really, I think, getting the youth of today out to those events and doing something to really market to them. So that way it's not the video games, it's not the movies. It's let's get you out there, let's get hands on, and that's just kind of my goal, is kind of sharing so many different styles. I appreciate and I admire motorsports and the classic cars, the vintage cars, the history that really laid the foundation for us. But I'm also trying to look through eyes of the youth and going, well, why are they not involved in it? And it came down to, well, I don't want to hear grandpa talk, okay, I can appreciate that. So what can we do to really entice you to come to the racetrack, to get more involved? And I really think we are seeing a shift and drawing more of the youth when it comes more to the no prep type world.
Yes, I agree. And what's interesting to statistically, racing in the video game world, racing is the number one video game in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the people that are doing the racing on the video games, Grand Theft Auto, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
never even been to a live track, never been to a live race, I've never been to a car show. And
Right.
And I think part of that is, and this is, I'm like you, my big thing is I want youth, I want the generations below us to understand, what this is all about. But I think the problem is that it's just not become relatable, because what they see on TV and the movies, you've got these drivers that are making, millions and millions of dollars, live in these mansions, have these yachts, and all this stuff. And I think part of the problem is, as great as the drivers are and the race teams and all that, when you're actually at the track, but what's portrayed media wise and on social media is this big glamorous life, right? That makes it so unrelatable. And unfortunately, I think, unfortunately, politics have gotten involved, in it too. And I think that's been a big downfall for any sport. I don't care what it is. But we need to leave politics out of sports. We need to leave politics out of racing, and we need to get our youth and our community back.
Absolutely. And and one thing I think that is lacking, and it's just changed over the years, is we aren't getting any of those classes in schools anymore of
No.
mechanics or any type of skilled trade, and kids are losing sight of that. And working with your hands is such a wonderful thing, and you can make a solid living out of it.
Right.
And even take that to careers in motorsports. Even if you are not a driver, you can wrench on a car. There's something out there. I hope it's okay that I plug it, NHRA launch, where you can find all kinds of jobs in motorsports, from social media to being part of a top fuel team. And some of them are entry level too. So it's just letting kids know that there are opportunities out there. And I'm not knocking college. 3 of my kids went to college. One went into skilled trade. He's a machinist. He has no college debt, which is great. And he's making a fantastic living. But really introducing the kids that, hey, you can work with your hands. Not everyone is set up for college or the mindset for it. That's not how they're wired. My son was not wired that way, but he is incredibly talented with his hands. And like I said, he's very successful in his career right now as a machinist.
Absolutely. Completely agree. Let's talk a little bit about the next chapter. Let's talk about a bucket list. Please share with us what you'd still like to accomplish in your next chapter of life, and maybe with Nitro Allie down the road.
With Nitro Allie, it's really just a hobby for me, but I would really like to see her grow and just really inspire. I'll use your word, inspire other people to do the same thing, whether it's promoting a car, put on something sparkly and pretty and promote a car. If you're not comfortable with that, do what I did and start your own podcast. It might not be anything huge, but if you can change the life of just one person, or you get one person at the track, it just snowballs. You're making a difference. So if I can make a difference that way by inspiring someone to do it, because I went on a whim. That's the thing. This was not the Nitro Allie podcast, and all this other stuff was not anything planned. It happened by accident. And I can share that story if you want me to, but
Sure.
I would really like to see her evolve, and it will always be a hobby. I'm not going to give up my career. I love my career. I love what I do. I know I've had a lot of people ask that. Are you going to quit? No, I'm not quitting. But just inspire people to do more and take, an active stance in motorsports and bringing people in.
So let's talk about a special vehicle story. Tell us about a truly special vehicle in your life. Share a great memory or experience that you've had with that vehicle.
That's actually a pretty easy one for me. Like I said, I never raced cars, but my kids did. And when my son started in junior dragsters at the wee age of 8 years old, he really wanted to get a dragster that would honor his grandfather, my dad. My dad served in Vietnam, and he wasn't treated very nice when he came home, but I respect my father. I respect our military. Always support him. And my son wanted a camouflage car, and he named it Tribute.
Wow.
And my father didn't know we were doing this. And he wasn't able to come to too many of the kids' races because he lives out of state. And he was able to make it to one where we unveiled it for him. And on the top of the car was a sticker that said some gave all gave some. And inside the car, I had pictures of my dad when he was in the jungle at Vietnam. And so we put him on the inside of the car. So he was always with my son when he was racing. And we had my dad actually sign the car. And the emotion from him, it's just a little kid's race car. But to know that he was honored and his family honors and respects him, along with everyone in our military. He's very patriotic. You could see it got to his heart. And prior to that, he had given my son his dog tags. And that is a very, very special thing. And even at 8 years old, my son knew how important that was. So with every race, he would wear my father's dog tags under his fire suit, because that kept grandpa closest to his heart, because that's where the tag would be resting, is right on his heart. So that car is very, very special.
I can absolutely, that's a great story. It's a great story. And I can absolutely relate, being a military mom and to 2 sons that serve in the Army and the Air Force. So I totally relate to that. I love that story. Let's get into your head a little bit. We're going to play the game Car Psychology. If you were a car, what would you be? And more importantly, why? Now, this isn't about what you want to be, but instead how you perceive yourself manifested as a vehicle.
I have always loved the 57 Chevy Bel Air. Always loved it. I see the 4-door, I see the 2-door, I kind of go back and forth, but I think I would have to go with that car because I think they're classy, they're elegant, they have a timeless look to them. And, they can be a little bit fierce under the hood. They're very unassuming. So, and I've always wanted to be perceived as a lady. I know I'm involved in very masculine things. My job is not glamorous, it's gross. Racing is more on the masculine side. That's how it's perceived, but I am very, very feminine. But don't think for a second that I'm a doormat, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Whereas like the
exactly.
car, you don't know what's under the hood. So, I think unassumingly fierce. And I think with that car, yeah, I think that would probably describe me right there.
Absolutely. That when I told my story, I talked about the first time I would go riding with my dad, and he had a 57 Chevy.
Oh,
And
I love
what
them.
that car meant.
And there's so many beautiful colors. I wouldn't be able to, I would need one of each. They're just so beautiful.
Let's go on the ultimate drive. I am writing a blank check for this ultimate drive with no limitations. Now have fun with this. If I could wave a magic wand and arrange for you to go on the ultimate drive at my expense, who would it be with and what vehicle would you be in?
Gosh, I hope you have a big checkbook. It would definitely be my father. Again, I always go back to the man that really inspired me. And my mom was very supportive of it. I'm not leaving my mom out, but she was domestic goddess. But I would have to go with a Bentley Continental GT convertible. I've always had a thing for Bentleys. To me, they're just stunning. And I would love to go take my dad on a drive. I would let him drive for sure to really experience something. Take a drive up Pacific Coast Highway here in Southern California, because he always gave up everything for us. And even now, he doesn't want to spend any money. He wants to leave something behind. No, Dad, no. You worked your life. You enjoy the fruits of your labor. So I would want my dad to drive that and just, again, have him take me back to those times, his experiences, because that's who molded him into the man that he is, who ultimately raised me with, my mom, of course, but he was my inspiration for so many things. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Let's talk about helping others and giving back. What are some of the ways that you've helped others or given back? This could be in your life or your career field.
Well, I think with that, I think random acts of kindness every day are important. In my job, our big motto, I guess you could say, is it's service above self. And it's really important for me, I guess, in that career field is when people are engaging with me, that is literally the worst day of their life. They've lost someone. So really showing kindness and compassion. And yes, we numb ourselves. We have to, otherwise we can't do our job. But putting that wall down for a minute and showing kindness and compassion, they'll never forget me. They never will on that day. So I want to make sure that they have a positive memory again of something so tragic. And again, just doing random acts of kindness for everybody, whether it's, hey, I really needed that parking spot. Let them have it. Maybe they need it more than I do, or putting the grocery cart back in the corral at the grocery store to help somebody out. It's just those little things. I think just doing little things every day are really, really important. And it can just, you might not know, it might change somebody's day.
Yeah. Like take them to a race.
Take them to a race.
Or a car
Absolutely.
show. There you go. All right. Let's talk about some reading or viewing. Please share a great book you've read, an article, or something you've watched that you believe others could learn from.
You know what? And I'm not an avid reader. It takes a lot for me to sit down and read a book just because I'm go, go, go. But there's actually a book that I did read. It's from a mutual friend of ours. It's called Savage Angel.
Yes, I know.
Death and Rebirth at the Indianapolis 500 by Ted Warner. And it's about our friend Angela Savage. And for those that don't know, her father was Swede Savage. He IndyCar driver, killed in 1973. And he died when mom was pregnant with Angela. And she went through so much. And a few chapters in, I remember reading, and I just started crying. And this is probably 2 a.m. her time, because we're at opposite ends of the country. And I text her and I go, I am crying. It was so relatable, not on identical things, but there were some similarities in her life and mine. And she put herself out there. She was so vulnerable. But what I really loved about it is she realized something's wrong. My pattern of behavior, something's wrong. And I'm not going to share the whole book or anything like that. But she took it upon herself to do some studying and research and figure out what's going on here. And she got some answers and what she's doing now with, racing for mental health and sharing her story and inspiring others that it's okay to not be okay, but surround yourself with good people that are going to help you and get help. It is absolutely okay to ask for help when you need it, especially when it comes to mental health. So she's been a huge inspiration to me, and I know she has to you too. And I really look at her as a beacon of strength and courage because that book was very raw, very raw. And now she's her father's legacy. And I know he is so proud of her looking down on her from heaven. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Oh yeah, Angela and I are very, very close. We're going to have Angela on soon and to talk about her book. But it's the same thing. I had the almost identical experience when I read her book, and there were so many things in there that were so parallel with my life and things that I experienced and went through, very similar to her. And I did the same thing. I just bawled. I mean, I read the book in literally in one day, less than one day, and I just couldn't put it down. It actually inspired me when I was thinking about doing this podcast and some other things in my career. After reading that book, and like you, I reached out to her and went and stayed with her, and we visited a lot. We've been to races together, and we just have a really tight friendship. But she really, her book and her story, I mean, she really gave me the courage to take this on. She was my biggest cheerleader on doing this podcast. Like I said, we're going to have her on soon, but the stories that we've shared together, like you, she's one of my major inspirations, and I can't wait to have her on, and more people need to read her book.
And what I love about her is even if you just speak to her on the phone, she has this aura of positivity around her. And then when I met her for the first time with you there in PRI, it's just this, again, positive energy. And she is just this beautiful ray of sunshine that you just want to be around.
Right.
You do. You just want to be around her. And I know she's come a long way. And I'm so proud of her. And I am so grateful that she's my friend now.
Absolutely. I can't wait for the three of us to get back together.
Oh, that might be some trouble right there. I don't know.
We are trouble, but that absolutely. All right. Let's talk about some parting thoughts here. Please give our listeners a final parting words of wisdom and advice about life or business. Or do you have a favorite quote or mantra that has meaning to you?
Gosh, you know what? There's a lot of them out there. And one that, believe it or not, really inspired me recently is I was listening to your interview with Colette Davis. And she is amazing. We all know that, prodigy right there. But she reiterated what Nike said, and just do it. Just do it, And again, like I was talking about some of the psychological warfare we have on ourselves. Do I do it? Do I not? And so I'm just doing it. And I encourage other people to do the same. And and there's other quotes out there. One of my other friends, he said, I'm not trying, I'm doing. And it's just that, no. You're going to do it, and another one that really rings that kind of gave me chills was the door to success is marked push. I'll see you on the other side.
Oh, I love that one. I love that one. Well, finally, tell us the best way that our listeners can learn more about you.
I am available on pretty much all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube. And if you just search in Nitro Allie on any of those, you will be able to, find me. You'll be able to see some of the interviews that we discussed on there. It is me operating it. If you send me a message, I will respond. It might take a few hours because I might be at work, but I will respond to you. And I would love for anyone who wants to, share in my journey to please follow me in one capacity or another.
Yes. And people, when you look up Nitro Allie, make sure that you spell it ALLIE. Nitro, Nitro Allie. Listeners, you can find links to everything we've talked about here today at carsyow.com on the Nitro, Nitro, Allie, ALLIE link on the notes page. Nitro, thank you for being so generous with your time and sharing your experiences with our listeners. And listeners, I will tell you this is not the last that you're going to hear from Nitro Allie on Cars Yeah. We've got some things that we're working on in the very near future, so stay tuned. Nitro, again, thank you so much. And I loved having you on here, and I miss you, and I can't wait to see you. And this was just great.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure, to talk with you. I love everything that you're doing. You have inspired me to go even further with this. So I am really grateful for all that you've done, and I'm really looking forward to what we're going to be doing.
That sounds great. On that note, until we talk again, I will see you down the road.
Thank you so much for joining us here today on Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find today's guest show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Fill Her Up. It's an ebook filled with gorgeous photos of fuel filler fun, including quotes from our inspiring automotive enthusiasts. While you're on the website, sign up for weekly blogs and a whole lot more. Download your copy today, and Ginger will see you next time here on Cars Yeah.